and today I just wanted to show you a couple things that I do for mobility and balance work that I tend to work into either my warm-up or just as a little break in between sets on my workout. I also integrate this sometimes into my yoga classes, so it's fun, and all you need is a little yoga block. All right, so let's get started. Be sure you're warmed up before you do any of these exercises, so go through a good range of motion through each joint. I've been walking for a while this morning, already done some stretches, so I'm just going to jump into the exercises. We're going to start by just placing our foot on the yoga block. So you want to make sure that everything's connected. And normally I'd be wearing my toe spaces when I worked out, but I forgot to bring them down. So spread your toes and make sure the ball of your foot on the pinky side and the toe side are connected, and also your heel. And you're just going to place your other foot in line. Make sure you're not dumping into that left hip if your right foot is up on the yoga block. All right, so this is really simple. This is a really simple exercise because you're going to really feel some good activation and movement through the hips, and it's just literally driving your knees forward. So you start there, and as you get into it, you can kind of hinge forward. And I'm going to turn to the side in just a second, but I want you to see that I'm not doing this from the front. So it's just a little push of the knees, and from the side it looks like this. So again, I'm slightly tilted. Tuck the pelvis just a little bit, and you're just going to push the knees forward. Now there is a little bit of rotation coming from your hands into those elbows because your hips are rotating. And it's a really little movement. You're not doing this. You want to keep the back nice and straight. You don't want to be rounded or arched. So keep that back nice and long. Remember, the neck is part of your back, so include that. Don't be looking down. Look a little bit forward. So just some movements. And then when you're ready, you'll switch sides. Bring that left foot up. Line the foot up. Now, if you have a hard time doing this with your foot directly in line with the other, you can stagger it a little bit, but you don't want to be in a full lunge. You want to really get that hip rotation. And just start by moving the knees in a standing up position. And then as you ease into it, find that hinge. Nice long line, ab engage. Again, don't let that pelvis untuck. Keep it slightly tucked. And I exaggerate my tuck just so you can see it. Spread out those toes. Ground with the foot. Move the knees forward and back. That's how we're moving our hips, is just with our knees. And you can probably see that I was starting to use my hips there, because this side of my body is much tighter. Just going to use my knees, taking a little bit smaller. Whew. Good little hip movement. Might feel some burn in those quads too. All right, on to the next one. All right, we're going to start with our right foot up on the block. And what I want to say about that though too is if you are doing any sort of balance work and you find that you have one side that's better than the other, make sure you start on your good side. Your good side will translate and kind of tell the other side that doesn't work as well how to do it. So put your right foot up on the block, and you're just going to find that spread toes, find all corners of your feet, and when you come up, just notice what happens. Can you square your hips? Tendency is to want to go like this, or to drop this side down. Can you just find the balance with your hips level, or as level as you can get them? Relax the upper shoulders, and just start to notice what becomes engaged. As you progress in this might be enough for you right now. One thing I do want to note before you progress is note that my knee is not locked out. It's slightly soft. I'm not in a squat, but it's soft. It's not locked. Toes are spread, and everything's stacked. So again, I'm not going like this. I'm keeping it nice and tight, abs engaged. Notice when your abs are engaged, are you lifting up your chest? Keep those things knitted. Ribs to hips. All right, so we're practicing that balance. progression from this is once you have that and you start to feel all those little intrinsic muscles and those balancing muscles start to work, you can start increasing it. Now remember, balance comes from the eyes first. If your eyes are all over the place, you're going to start wobbling. The other thing you can do is to put your pointer finger and thumb together, and that helps you make a connection. It's a tactile balance cue. So you can do that, or I like to put my hands in front and press my hands together and get a little bit more of my midline activated, so my core is engaged too. And that's the other thing when it comes to balance. When you find that midline and that cinch, you're going to have a lot better balance. If you're just all hanging out and try to balance without any core engagement, you're going to be all over the place. So make sure you practice on both sides. So again, you start, make sure you're not dipped, find the level hips, find your core, find your eyesight, your spot that you're staring at, that you're focusing on. Maybe your fingertips come together or your palms come together. And just start to feel what happens when you balance on one foot. And then as you improve, you can start to add a little bit of elevation. So bring that hip in. That's using those add and adductors, a big part of our balance. And then our core. And focus. All right, give that a try. And let me know how it goes. All right, so the next one we're gonna do, you need a free wall. And honestly, my foot is not going to be exactly lined up because I can't move my mat over because there's a wall over there any further. So ignore, imagine that my feet are flat. Or this foot is flat. All right, so you need a wall, and you're gonna bring your leg up to the wall, making sure the standing leg is pressed or is stacked, ankle, knee, hip. We're not gonna lean into the wall. We're gonna push away from the wall just a little bit, but resisting that urge to rotate and lean. So we're gonna try to keep our body stacked. Push into the wall. So we get this push and a little bit of pull, and it is a seriously good little glute activator. We're gonna tune into our glute med here, and I'm already burning. So you're gonna find a little hinge, and remember when we hinge, the hinge comes from the hips. The back stays nice and long. We don't round to go into our hinge. So you wanna keep that nice and long. And I'm gonna show you from the other side, just so you can get a little back view. So spread the toes, make sure you're not dumping into that hip, make sure the foot's not rotating off, press into it, soften the knee, come forward, and then you're just going to move the knee in and out. Keep that leg pressed. I know you probably can't see it, but I'm already shaking. So make sure you spread your toes. Don't dump in. And what you're gonna find, if you're doing it right, that hinge motion takes your hip flexors out of it. It tunes you into that glute med, and you should feel a pretty quick little burn and activation of that glute med. Give that a shot. Let me know if you have any questions on that one. That one's a tough one. All right, just some balance work on the yoga block. And there's a few different things you can do with this. I love yoga blocks because they have a little bit of give. They force you to activate your core just a little bit more, and those muscles that really work hard for balance. Like if we slip and fall and catch ourselves, they're gonna work those muscles that help catch us when we slip and fall, instead of taking it all into our back. Hopefully. It happens. All right, so step your right foot up, spread the toes, find that balance. Please, for the love of God, be working out barefoot if you can. If you can handle it, take off those shoes. This is really important for your feet to connect to the yoga blocks, to send the signals up to your body, what needs to work. All right, so we're gonna stand up like we were in our balance and get our hips nice and level. Draw the leg out, step down, little squat, and draw it back up. Now you can come all the way up if you want into your balance, or you can stay here, press your hands together, get that core activated, and come up. So remember, when you step down, we're not rounding down to get down to the ground. Everything stays activated up top. You stay in that lovely plank up top. Nice hinge and up. Good. Make sure you do both sides a few times. You pick your set. You pick your reps. What do you want to do? What does your body need? Out and up. Wah! See? use that bottom foot to push off. So make sure you're pushing off with the foot, root into that block. That's the other cue. Ooh, you can see this is my tricky side. Needs some work. I want to dump into that hip. Use those quads a little bit more than my glute. It's also very tired from the last exercise. All right, so you get the gist, you get the idea. My foot just stuck to the block. All right, next one, we're gonna just go straight into it. This one's a lunge with the block in front. Again, we get this tactile response when we have bare feet. And I'm gonna show you, option number one is doing a lunge with your front foot up. So you wanna make sure your hips are square as you can get them. Not everybody's built the same. Back foot is a comfortable step back. Now I like to go a little bit deeper into my lunges. The key here is keeping that knee above the ankle on this. So I'm gonna drop my back foot. And what I see most of all what I see happen is when people do lunges, they push forward and their knee drives forward. So we're pushing our femur forward instead of dropping and staying in an upright position. So we're not moving forward in a lunge, we're moving up and down in a lunge. So what the block does is gives us just that little bit more balance, a little bit more cushion that we have to focus our core on that. So as we come up and down, you have to spread your toes and really push into that block to get that extra lift. The progression for this is you can practice just holding. You go up and down, or you can start driving up and finding the balance at the top, stepping down, spread those toes, squeeze, and you're gonna have a little bit of a hinge here. Remember, but we keep that nice long line, drive up. Ooh, drive up, find the balance. All right, make sure you do both sides. I'll demonstrate it just to get a little evenness. So again, we can hold here, press into that toe, stack the knee above, strengthening our core, strengthening our front leg, and finding that length in the back. Then we start dropping down, maybe using the arms. And then we drive forward with that back knee. Using the front foot to bring the back leg up. Finding that balance, sticking, keeping the core strong. All right, woo, my foot keeps sticking to my block. And that should be a pretty decent workout. You can hear I'm already like a little winded from this, from making a few copies. But there's a lot of ways to progress this, and I will show you a few more next time.